Bitcoin is certainly at least digital gold. It's going to eat gold. It's got all of the great attributes of gold, and it's got none of the defects of gold. If you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. It's going to divert capital from risk assets and risk ETFs like SPY, and you can see that these ETFs are doing that. The halving is going to cut the organic supply of natural sellers in half around April 20th. That means there's only about $32 million a day of natural sellers. And the price of Bitcoin is going to have to adjust up in order to meet that investor demand. So I think that's what's going to happen next to the asset class.
MicroStrategy founder and executive chairman Michael Saylor believes Bitcoin is about to make history in 2024, particularly during the fourth month of the year, when the much-anticipated halving event will occur. According to Saylor, a renowned business executive and big Bitcoin bull, we are about to witness the single most consequential halving since the creation of the leading cryptocurrency over 15 years ago. So far, there have been 3 Bitcoin halvings, each reducing the supply of the cryptocurrency by halving the block reward, and all 3 have had significant impacts on price. However, the 2024 halving will be like no other because of the immense success of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which have amassed over $55 billion in assets and $110 billion in flows in just 2 months. According to Saylor, the Bitcoin ETFs will soon surpass the gold ETF's current $94 billion AUM, and they will do it in months instead of years. With thousands of institutional investors across the United States now buying or intending to buy Bitcoin through these ETFs, the demand for the leading digital asset has increased by multiple folds, much more than the daily supply. In a matter of weeks, the supply will be further reduced by half, causing a never-before-seen supply-demand imbalance for Bitcoin. During his latest interview with CNBC, Saylor discusses his outlook for Bitcoin in 2024 and beyond. According to the renowned business executive and billionaire investor, we now have a very limited window to buy Bitcoin cheaply before its price completely blows through the roof as the supply-demand imbalance becomes even more pronounced after the halving. We will now bring you clips from the interview. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
There's no doubt in my mind Bitcoin was a better investment at 17,000 than it was at 65,000. I take the Warren Buffett view on this. Bitcoin's a superior investment to gold, equity, bonds, and real estate because it's digital. You can trade it 1,000,000 times faster than conventional assets using a computer. It's available. Most other assets only trade less than 20% of the time. Bitcoin's trading 168 hours a week. We bought $800 million of Bitcoin, and a lot of it we bought over the weekend when all the conventional markets are closed. It's global. It's the most widely recognized and trusted investment asset in the world right now. It's ethical because it's the king of all commodities. There's no issuer. There's no company. There's no country controlling it. And fundamentally, it's useful. Thousands of market makers can trade it all the time. Millions of companies can trade it. Billions of people. If you want to buy a house on Saturday in Africa, this is the way to do it. If you want to buy a car on Sunday morning, this is the way to do it. So it's a pretty great asset. It's the greatest of the assets, in my opinion. There's no second best asset. So I didn't have any question about it. We're just waiting for the rest of the world to realize how good it is. As for your second question, the halving, look, the selling in the market for the past month has been primarily bankruptcy estates that are liquidating GBTC at FTX or Genesis or the like. Once they got done rebalancing, the natural sellers are the miners. The miners can only sell 900 Bitcoin a day right now. They're only going to be able to sell 450 Bitcoin a day coming the end of April. As long as there's more demand in the market than the 450 Bitcoin a day, there isn't any catalyst to drive this asset down. It has no cash flows. The critics think that's a defect. It's a feature. With no cash flows, no quarterly results, no product cycles, this is the longest lived asset in the financial ecosystem with the least uncertainty. We're buying it to hold it 100 years. So that being the case, that $66,000 to $16,000 crash, that shook out the tourists, that shook out the non-believers. When it was 16,000, we were all ready to write it to zero. And that's what you'll find with the Bitcoin maximalists. So now we're writing it the other direction, and the protocol's working to everybody's benefit. There's just no reason why it shouldn't just keep adjusting up to find the marginal supply as the demand builds. A lot of times the skeptics, they say Bitcoin looks too good to be true. It's so good to be true, someone's going to take it away from you. And that's based on a fundamental misunderstanding about Bitcoin. People refer to it as currency or digital currency, and that's unfortunate historical artifact. It's not digital currency, it's digital property. And once you make that big leap and understand it's property, you see the compelling use case is capital preservation for everyone in the world. There's no anathema associated with owning property. You can own $1 billion building in New York City. You can own every place in the world where they allow you to own property, which means China, Europe, the US, they're going to embrace Bitcoin as digital property. All the controversial issues around cryptos have to do with their use as a medium of exchange. But what I'm here to say really is medium of exchange is only worth $1 trillion. Store of value is worth $100 trillion. So I give your company, I give your family, I give your institution $1 billion. I drop you in Africa and I say, you got to save the capital for 100 years. What are you going to buy? And the answer is nothing. There is nothing on the entire continent you can buy that's better than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's going to be embraced as property. It's going to be controversial if people think of it as a currency. So I would encourage people to think of it as digital property, $1 billion building in cyberspace.
Over the years, Saylor has given us a lot of golden Bitcoin mantras, inducing his popular, "There's no second best," and "It's going up forever, Laura." These statements reveal Saylor's absolute conviction in Bitcoin's supremacy and his unwavering belief that Bitcoin is a worthy buy even at current prices, which many investors would consider high, but not Saylor. In fact, over the weekend, the software and Bitcoin development company acquired an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for approximately $821.7 million, using proceeds from convertible notes and excess cash at approximately $68,477 per Bitcoin. With the latest purchase, MicroStrategy holds 205,000 Bitcoin acquired for about $6.91 billion and needs only 5,000 more Bitcoin to hold 1% of the maximum total Bitcoin supply. From an initial $250 million purchase, MicroStrategy has now spent almost $7 billion on Bitcoin. Before the ETFs, Bitcoin-related companies like MicroStrategy were the only way for investors to get exposure to Bitcoin without buying the underlying asset. During his interview, CNBC's Andrew Sorkin asked Saylor how BlackRock and other ETFs will affect MicroStrategy's role as a Bitcoin proxy company. In response, the MicroStrategy executive explains that his firm's business model differs from the ETFs and offers investors something they cannot find by investing in IBIT and other ETFs. Here are more clips from the interview.
BlackRock is like the container ship or the super tanker of Bitcoin. They can take $1 billion a day into their capital structure, and they can haul that very efficiently, 25 basis points. MicroStrategy is like air freight. We got higher performance. So what's going on here? MicroStrategy's got leverage. If we borrowed $800 million at 62 basis points, is there any company in the world that you wouldn't like to invest in that could borrow $1 billion at less than 1% interest to invest in your best idea? So we get that very intelligent leverage. It's non-recourse, it's unsecured, and then we buy Bitcoin with it. That leverage gives us volatility. It gives us performance. The performance gives us volatility. The volatility attracts capital, and we can then leverage more. It's kind of intelligent because it's convertible debt. It's given our shareholders more Bitcoin per share this week than they had a few weeks ago. So it's very accretive for them. And it's pretty compelling for every investor. If you're Bitcoin curious right now and you want to buy Bitcoin at the all-time high, how do you get the upside in Bitcoin with downside protection? MicroStrategy sold 800 million in debt, and we have 12, 13 billion dollars of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So we're giving you an over collateralized loan and the upside. But if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and you love Bitcoin and you want to hold it forever, the ETFs charge you 25 basis points. MicroStrategy is accreting. We're giving you a yield against your shares in a tax efficient fashion. So the maximalists like the equity. The hedgers, they kind of like the upside with downside protection. The traders love the vol. You know, we've got 100 vol asset here, and they just like the vol. So we're unique because you can't really trade options on the ETFs, and an ETF isn't going to issue a convertible bond with upside to Bitcoin but downside protection. We have now rebranded ourselves as a Bitcoin development company. Think like a real estate development company. And certainly the substantial amount of our enterprise value is based on our unique ability to issue securities and to purchase Bitcoin with convertible debt, with equity and the like. And so we understand that. But the only reason we could make this transition is because the software business was healthy. It does generate steady cash flow. It does allow us to issue debt, to issue equity. It does make us unique because we're able to, we've got a very functional options market. We've got a very functional debt market, and we've got a very stable operating business that we can use. If you look at our last result, we actually bought a lot of Bitcoin with operating cash or cash out of the operating business, and that is purely accretive to our shareholders. So we think we're unique, and that's working very, very well right now.
Meanwhile, on-chain analyst Willy says Bitcoin's current market structure is displaying all the signs of a price-ripping, full-blown bull market, and that lots of coins are moving on-chain, which indicates that real investors are buying Bitcoin at higher prices and validating it. In a recent thread on X, Wu acknowledges the madness of the unprecedented demand through the ETFs, the coming halving, and other fundamentals that he says will drive Bitcoin's price much higher. His post reads, Bitcoin at 71,000 puts us here in visual of the upper and lower bound models. The upper bound right now is 337,000. So, this bull market is still early, equivalent to 20,000 of the last cycle, which didn't hit the upper bound due to the flood of paper Bitcoin. This is less dominant this cycle. In another post, Wu presents another view of what's coming for Bitcoin's price. The post reads, the BMI is a composite of 17 fundamental and technical macro signals covering the behavior of investors, miners, and so forth. We broke the upper blue band this week, which is the signal that we are in a full fundamentals-driven bull market. In a third post, Wu noted that the Bitcoin network is currently storing $1.8 billion of new capital daily, the third highest on record after an all-time high record of $2.15 billion was reached in January 2021. Wu also called attention to the coming Bitcoin halving, stating that we are about 40 days away from an event that will drop Bitcoin's inflation to less than half of gold's. Wu added that this makes Bitcoin the hardest money in the history of humanity. What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's and Willy Wu's ultra-bullish sentiments on Bitcoin? Do you share their optimism about Bitcoin hitting much higher prices before the bull market ends? Please drop your comments and price predictions for Bitcoin in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.